All right, writers. All right, storytellers. This is my pitch to writers, mostly, novelists, nonfiction writers, anybody that writes a book. Not really. This is not my pitch for comic books, board game storytellers, or video game people. I'm gonna do another pitch for them. This is for my writers, yo. If you have books, whether you are urban fiction, science fiction, romance, if you're writing autobiography, if you're writing a biography of somebody else, if you're telling a how-to story, if you got a cookbook, a how-to book, right? I think I've designed. Let me say, I think LitCon, Florida LitCon, is the convention for you. I designed it out of my own selfish needs, but I'm not so selfish that I want to be the only one there. I am a writer and a filmmaker, and I've also created a comic book. Have not done video game, which I was that close to doing it. I was only $1,000 away from it. And I haven't done a board game yet, although I've pitched myself to write a couple of board game stories. But I have written science fiction, urban fiction, and nonfiction. And I created LitCon because I was introduced to storytelling by writing screenplays and producing 2 movies. After my movies came out, my second movie did really good, made $250,000, and I got kind of burned. I decided to write that story. Well, actually, I had already written a story into a comic book to sell on my festival run to raise money, because I realized festivals are tremendous opportunities, but they are expensive. I was in a festival of BFM in England, and my movie was the closing night picture, and Tyler Perry's movie was the opening night picture. This is 2005, I believe it was, 2005 or 2006. And they were celebrating me on this level that they were celebrating Tyler Perry, and we were both American filmmakers. And when I got there, they gave me the limousine, they gave me the radio interviews and everything, but I still had to fly myself there. I think Tyler might have done the same thing, but he's a bigger filmmaker, but he wasn't as big as he is now in 05, okay? So I had to fly myself there, and I realized, I can't do all of these trips and promotional opportunities if I don't raise money. So I got into comic books, and when my film did so well, I had written a sequel to it, and I was ready to go be a Hollywood filmmaker, and the company filed for bankruptcy. I'll say the name, Polychrome Pictures, and I didn't get my money, and I didn't get I only got a fraction. I got 1.5 payments to my guarantee, which would really have just broken me even. And I decided, this is ridiculous. Let me see how I can take this brand, because this movie, they're still selling the movie. The movie was still big. Gold Digger Killer. It went on to sell for like a year and a half, 2 years, and it was still being referred to even longer than that. So I quickly decided to write a novelization of it, and from there, that became my writing career. That book came out in 2010, I believe it was, and I never looked back until last year when I made my 3rd movie. But I wrote science fiction books after that because I realized that I didn't need to be limited to budget. And from there, I got turned on to the freedom of writing. And I've always wanted to tell my stories on multimedia platforms, as some writers do. Some writers are just happy with them being as books. If you're happy as being with a book and you don't want your film to be interpreted by a filmmaker, then don't come to Florida LitCon. But if you see your story on the big stage or on the big screen, then Florida LitCon is designed for you. I started going to film festivals in the 90s, and when my film came out, I went to a bunch of film festivals all over the country, and the American Black Film Festival started in Acapulco. Used to be called the Acapulco Black Film Festival. And I've gone to every black film festival except for the first one in Acapulco, which I might have gone to. I don't know. I just didn't bring anything back from it. And I've gone to all of the ones down here except for the year that they were in LA. And I've met Robert Townsend. I flew on the plane with him and his whole family. I've met John Singleton. I've met Spike Lee a number of times. And these are like some of the main players of laws. Of course, my first year I met the fellas from Rainforest Films. My friend Smitty, Kevin Smith, he was in the movie Twa, which was really their breakout picture. You will hear them talk about, that being their breakout picture. So I got pictures with my friend Kenya Moore. I actually didn't take a picture myself, but I was there and I met him, so I'm the one that took the picture. Anyway, going to these film festivals, I've always been trying to pitch my books. I met a bunch of authors, Ken Quinones Miller, Angel Hunter, my homegirl Diana Poole, and we laugh and we've seen each other pull books out of our bags. They had their handbags, and they're coming to these festivals with the goal of trying to interest somebody in their film, and these are all Essence bestsellers, right? And I was like, these filmmakers, even friends of mine, are not taking us serious. And I wanted to create a platform where they would take us serious. So I came up with this film and book expo called Florida LitCon, which is really an opportunity for an author to be seen in their full glory, right? To have a table with their pictures of their book covers and their books, even commercially available where people can buy them in front of filmmakers so that the filmmakers can see how well they look. Because I don't care how good your talking game is, you pull a book out of a bag and hand it to somebody, they don't really see how enormous you are. It takes a real visionary to go on and Google and walk to the bookstore and see you out there. And books are like movies. They don't always stay out on bookshelves forever. So you can see somebody's book and not know really how big that person is. So I wanted to put something together. I also encourage authors to do what they call a detailed synopsis in book publishing. When you get a publishing deal, you take each chapter from your book and summarize it. So that way, when people are interested in your book, they have an idea of the pacing of the story. It's more than just the synopsis. It's more than just what you put on the back cover. It's a detailed synopsis, and it can be like 3 to 5 pages. Why do I suggest that? Because filmmakers, producers, actors, anybody that you can get interested into your story may not read the whole book right away. So you give them a synopsis, you give them a detailed synopsis, and then you give them a copy of the book. And you don't have to give it to them all at once. You can say, hey, here's the synopsis. You like it? Let me know. I'll email you the detailed synopsis. Hey, you like the detail? If you like the detailed synopsis, I can give that to you right away. If they're going to commit to reading a book, boom, I would still give them the detailed synopsis, just so it's almost like Cliff Notes. So that way, they could read it faster. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you might want to give a character breakdown. That's a little extra, but it depends on your story if you want to do that. But really, I just want you to kind of introduce yourselves to these filmmakers. And it's not just the director. You can get a producer that's interested. You can get the director, of course. You can get actors. You can get anybody. Shoot. Anybody that can take your film to somebody that can make it, your story to somebody that can make it happen, boom. And giving them a detailed synopsis, yeah, you might feel like it's ruining the book, but if somebody wants to read your book, they're not going to be happy and satisfied with a detailed synopsis. So you can come up with confidential agreements if you want to. But I really wouldn't do that. Most successful books are already on Wikipedia, and people are telling your whole story. So they can't put your book out there, but they can spoil it other ways, you know. So your beauty is really in your writing and your pacing of it. It's not necessarily like a film, so don't be so scared. But really, Florida LitCon was designed to take your books and give them to filmmakers that are ready to take them to the next stage of putting them on the big screen, making yourself multimedia. And then there's also another kickback for writers. As a tie-in writer, which I like to call myself because I am, we look at films and say your film could do what Star Wars did. Star Wars was dying after Return of the Jedi, but it wasn't until, you know, the expanded universe gave light to other characters through the novelization books. One that gets credit is Timothy Zahn's Heir to the Empire, and he wrote that and introduced Thrawn, and it gave them so much legs. It gave them a place to go. So many of our movies, black movies, I think of Slight, I think of Kin, I think of, heck, even Boys in the Hood, you know, even The Wire, have so much story that you wonder what happened to the characters after the story that was told in the movie or the TV show has gone away. And I would love to see these stories continued in some form of an expanded universe. So maybe you can pitch yourself to a filmmaker who owns their property, you know, because I'm going to be doing this. This is all the stuff that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be pitching my books. I have detailed synopsises on all of my books, well, most of them. And if not, I can put it together. I'm going to be pitching myself to write somebody's movie into a book. All right. And you know, I know how much I charge. You can Google it. I've thrown around the figure of $10,000. It just depends on how fast you write, or how much your cost of living, or how good you write. But mind you, sometimes with a novelization, it doesn't really matter who the writer is. Sometimes it does. Like I read Eric Jerome Dickey's Storm comic book because it was Eric Jerome Dickey and his name was like half of the page. But I'm not an Eric Jerome Dickey, and I don't know how many writers are. So getting a novel tie-in is really cool. So I just think that, you know, keep yourself open for that. And I'll talk about comic book writers as well. So anyway, that's it. I gave you 13 minutes, right? 13 minutes. It was good. So I really hope you try to come. I still have tables available. I have a second room that I'm trying to sell out, so we can make this as big as possible. But I made some good deals this weekend, so we got some good people, especially some filmmakers. I got some real Florida and Miami has got a first shot at this, so they're coming through. Next year, I might have filmmakers from really all over the country, but Miami is doing their thing, so there's going to be a lot of people. So get ready to shoot your movie in South Florida. All right. Talk to you later. Thank you. Writers, please come through. Support. I'm doing this for you. It ain't about me. I'm going to have one table. The rest of the room is going to be y'all. So it's not like I'm trying to do this myself. All right. Peace.